past year, we've all witnessed the tragic effect that COVID-19 has had on our Commonwealth. We've lost so many people, over 6,000. We'll probably get close to 7,000 by the end. And with each of these, oftentimes it was somebody dying alone without their family, and then their family having to say goodbye to them without the traditional funeral. To help ease the stress and the burden caused by this pain and this continuing pain for so many families, FEMA has opened a COVID-19 funeral assistance program that provides financial support for funeral expenses incurred due to COVID-19 related deaths. Starting today, applications can be submitted for financial assistance from FEMA. To learn more and find out more about how to apply, and if your family's eligible, if you can get some of the costs that you paid during this pandemic to bury somebody that you love, visit the FEMA website at fema.gov and search COVID-19 funeral assistance. Kentuckians can also call the toll-free FEMA COVID-19 funeral assistance helpline. The number is 844-684-6333, or for deaf and hard of hearing. And remember, for only those individuals, we can't clog up those lines, 800-462-7585. Please notice FEMA is not contacting anyone until the individual seeking assistance either has called FEMA first or has applied for assistance. If you doubt a FEMA representative is legitimate, hang up or report it to FEMA or the National Center for Fraud hotline, 866-720-5721. In other words, even here, you have criminals that are trying to prey on you at the time that you're most vulnerable. You'll only talk to FEMA on this if you call and contact them, or if you submit an application. If someone calls you and says they're with FEMA because so many people have known someone that's passed away during this pandemic that now they'll just blindly call, know that they're not legitimate, hang up, make sure you don't give them any information. So again, tough topic, but some help out there for families that have already been through too much. All right, this morning was an exciting morning. I was at Cardinal Stadium in Louisville, joined with leaders of the University of Louisville and U of L Public Health, as well as local civic leaders, as we opened the most ambitious, high-throughput vaccination site yet. With our partners, we'll be able to administer upwards of 4,000 shots of hope each day at this site. That means this facility can do up to 200,000 vaccinations during its lifetime over the next 7 weeks. This is how we win the war against COVID. And we're making gains, but we must know that the crisis is not over. While we have had so many weeks of decline, we, just like many other states, are plateauing. Most plateaued long before us. At least 4 are starting to see dramatic increases. They are driven by the UK variant. And what we're unfortunately seeing is that they are infecting more young people. Those young people are getting really sick, and hospitalizations for younger Americans are going up. None of us want that. So what do? Number one, until we win, continue to wear that mask. Make sure you're doing the right things. Number 2, get vaccinated as quickly as possible. This is how we get back to normal. That's why we've opened eligibility to all adults and even 16 and 17-year-olds who can get the Pfizer vaccine, including at this Cardinal Stadium site. Also today, I announced the Team Kentucky Vaccination Challenge. This ties the number of Kentuckians vaccinated directly to how and when we ease restrictions on capacity for so many different businesses that are yearning for that goal of what do we have to do? How can we help? How can we get enough people vaccinated to make sure our facility is safe during this time? So our first goal is 2.5 million Kentuckians. Once we get the first 2.5 million Kentuckians vaccinated, we will remove capacity restrictions for venues, events, and businesses that hold 1,000 or fewer patrons. That's every restaurant, bar, music venue, funeral home, retail, wedding space, event spaces, public pools, grocery stores, country clubs, museums, festivals, distilleries, and so many more. Virtually everything other than schools with 1,000 people or less you're going to see an end of those capacity restrictions. Now, until we know exactly where the variants are going, and until we have enough of our younger people, some of which don't even qualify for the vaccine, to be vaccinated, we're going to have to continue to look at the different analyses for masks. But this ought to be exciting. Now, the question is, how quickly can we get there? With the supply we currently have, plus what we're getting in each week, we could get there as quickly as 3.5 weeks from now. That's probably not realistic, but we should, if we are intentional, get there from 4 to 6 weeks. 4 weeks would take all of you calling and signing up for every single opening that's out there. And it's probably going to take a lot of our businesses that really need to see this to provide incentives. You know, if you're going to come into a place and get vaccinated, do they provide you $5 or $10 of free groceries? Will our restaurants make sure that all of their wait staff and others get vaccinated and push all of their customers to do it too? And maybe what can they offer to folks? We have to try everything to reach this point as quickly as possible, and that will make us have a more normal summer than any of us had ever imagined. I want to thank everybody for helping to make this Cardinal Stadium project happen, but everybody else who's out there. So if you're ready for those capacity limitations to be lifted, here's how we do it. First, we can take, I believe, more than 10,000 additional people at that Cardinal Stadium site just this week. If you'll put that up, that's at 502-681-1435. If you're in or around the Lexington area and you want to help out, there are at least 3,000 appointments still available this week. Go get them. Bowling Green, again, somewhere that, like everywhere else, that I think we'd like to see an ability to get together more than 2,000 openings this week. Baptist Health Corbin in Whitley County, 1,500 openings this week. Oldham County Health Department and Baptist Health LaGrange, both in Oldham County, combined 1,500 openings this week. In other words, be a part of defeating COVID. Be a part of ending these capacity restrictions. All you got to do is call now, sign up, and get vaccinated. And remember, you did so much to help protect the person next to you, to make sure that someone who couldn't handle COVID didn't get COVID. Well, now the group that's getting sick, it's getting bigger. It's even younger people. You wore a mask to protect people before. I need you to get vaccinated to protect people now. It appears that it at least lessens the ability for the virus to spread, and it certainly protects you. To talk about this 2,500 number, this goal, how we're going to hit it, and why it provides us a level of protection, we got Dr. Stack on with us today. Steve?
Good afternoon, Governor. Good afternoon, Kentucky. This is a big deal. This is our exit strategy from COVID-19. These vaccines are highly effective. They've been given to tens and tens of millions of people very safely. They've been well received. These vaccines have been shown to keep people from dying, from going into the intensive care unit, from getting severely ill. They have been shown in real world circumstances to be very highly effective, even against the variants, from preventing people from having those most severe consequences of death and hospitalization in the ICU. These vaccines also do have growing evidence that they decrease the transmission of disease. So when people actually are vaccinated, they're less likely to get severely ill. And they're also, even if they do get infected, less likely to transmit the illness to other people. So I'm very confident in the proposal that the governor has here, the challenge that he's made for the Team Kentucky folks all across the state, that when we reach 2.5 million people vaccinated, that we can lift some of these substantial restrictions and get back to much more of the lives we miss so much and we're so eager to return to. And he went over the long list already, but any gathering 1,000 people or less where physical distancing requirements could be lifted, capacity requirements or limitations could be lifted, that's functionally all regular commercial enterprise for the kinds of social activities that we want to get back to. And so I urge everyone, for your own safety, for your own well-being, to make that choice, your free choice to get vaccinated, to keep yourself safe, to keep your loved ones safe. And also, all business owners, I mean, we're in this together. We will do well together or do worse together, but either way, we are in this together. And if we can all rally around this and go get vaccinated, we can get back to activities and get back to activities safely for ourselves, safely for our loved ones, and safely for our larger communities. Now, the governor's also already shared, vaccine is available. If you want to get vaccinated, if you're willing to get vaccinated, you can schedule at pharmacies and health departments and hospitals throughout the Commonwealth. If you are a patient of a federally qualified healthcare center, progressively more, they'll have access to vaccine directly from the federal government. If you're a community that has independent pharmacies, predominantly through the federal route, but also through the state route, progressively more, particularly when the Johnson & Johnson supplies start to increase, more of those locations will have access to vaccine. And if you go on the websites for the larger pharmacy chains, for the Kroger's and Walgreens, all of the Kroger and Walgreens stores in the state of Kentucky currently are offering vaccination to people throughout the state. Most of the Walmarts are offering vaccinations. A growing number of CVS pharmacies are offering vaccinations. And of course, if you are anywhere near Louisville in Jefferson County for 3 weeks, all you got to do is schedule at Cardinal Stadium. We're going to do 4,000 shots a day for 3 weeks. It's a lot of people. We could make incredible progress. If you're a business owner, if you are you run a factory or a plant, please take advantage in the Jefferson County area of that large Cardinal Stadium activity so that people can get vaccinated quickly and efficiently. They're very efficient operations for people to go through. Doesn't tie up a lot of your time. And please go to our website and look for locations nearest to you. A lot of the regional vaccination sites still have plenty of appointments, and go sign up and get it taken care of. Take your whole family, as long as they're 16 or over for Pfizer or 18 or over for Moderna or Johnson & Johnson. Get everyone in your family vaccinated so we can lift these restrictions and so we can get back to a normal summer as close as possible, and then hopefully look forward to a much, much more normal school year in the fall. This is an exciting time and a good time, but we only cross the finish line if we all do it together. So thank you very much, folks. It's been a privilege to serve with you and to serve alongside the governor. We just need you to see it through for the next few months to get across the finish line so that we can move on past this. So thank you very much. I know we can do this, and I know we'll get it done. Back to you, Governor.
Thank you to Steve. Also, we will be lifting that curfew that we've had to have in place when we hit this number. So you can stay open late, you can stay out late, just still be careful. There are other things that can harm you other than COVID. So when we're able to do it, please do it responsibly. So the question is, where are we on our way to this journey to 2.5 million? Well, and the answer is we're right about, I believe that we're about 1.6 million Kentuckians vaccinated, but our data is lagging by 2.5 to 3 days because of a security upgrade that we've done in our reporting system. We are working on it right now. We should have all that information in the next 2 days, but let's look at table 1. That's got 1,558,463 as the total number of Kentuckians. That does not include what I believe is north of 20,000 plus people for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is needing to do a security upgrade in the system, and the providers that are out there actually putting shots in arms having not gone through the process that they have to for their data to be sent to us to make sure that we are secure and protecting any and all personal information that is in there. But I am I'm really confident that we are at if not a little bit above that 1.6 million. What we're going to see is, I hope it's fixed tomorrow, but if not, we're going to see just a little bit of an uptake. This is only 3,000 more than yesterday when we know we did a large amount across the state. But in the very least 2 days from now, we'll see a really big pop in those numbers. But everybody, listen, 900,000 vaccinations, 900,000 Kentuckians to go. When we look at what we have on hand, plus what we'll get on Tuesday, we'll have over 500,000 vaccinations out there ready and waiting to go into people's arms. Let's look at the demographics, which we do each Monday. Let's start with age. So a couple of good things in this chart. First, we're now 73% of all Kentuckians 70 years and older having received the vaccine. Certainly, we want to get that number higher, and we continue to work on that. 60 to 69 is, as you see, is getting higher and higher. That's eventually going to overtake 70 plus because there are more Kentuckians 60 to 69 than 70 plus. That is now 61% of what we believe all Kentuckians that age and up. And remember, this is leaving out some numbers from the past 3 days that are going to be coming in over the next couple days. Then we get down to 40 to 49, 50 to 59. We need to pick that up. 43% of people 50 to 59, 35% 40 to 49. I mean, come on, these are open. Those age groups are getting really sick under the UK variant. Remember, we can't be indifferent to this virus. It's time, if you're in those age groups, to sign up. It's real fast, real easy. You can get it all done within an hour and move on with your life. That'd be a good thing. You can also help us all get this right, make sure that we can move into the future. Gender, 56% female, 44% male. I think that's ticked up, if I remember right, 1 or 2% on the men's side. Again, COVID doesn't care if you're male or female. It'll infect you just the same. We don't need to try to be tough guys out there pretending like a virus doesn't attack us or can attack us. Just let's go and let's get the vaccine and let's defeat it once and for all. Ethnicity, this has ticked up a little bit, 2.1% now. Hispanic and race, also continuing to see increase after increase after increase, not where we want it to be, but it's moving in the right direction. Black or African-American Kentuckians now 5.26%. Asian Kentuckians 1.43%. White Kentuckians 85.05%. Now others ticked up a little, and again, this has been a real challenge given how much higher this is showing than the census, for instance, is at 8.06%. We previously realized that some providers were just ticking the other box to not have to do this. So we're going to go back and we're going to look, are we seeing this in 1 or 2 places, or is there something different going on how people identify? But again, those numbers, not where we want them to be, but moving in the right direction, and we are going to get there. I mean, after being given instructions to start with certain professions, we were always going to start behind, but we got to work as hard as we can to catch up to make sure that this is a fully equitable rollout of this vaccine everywhere to everyone. All right, now with what I actually think is a pretty positive update, but with more work to be done, we've got Michael Brown, who's going to give us an update on our vaccinations in our state corrections institutions.
Well, thank you, Governor. And I would describe this as a very encouraging report on what's going on. And as always, I like to put it in context and show you sort of where we've come over these last several weeks. It's been now about a month since I brought a report to you. So if we could, this is where we were on March 3rd. And that was a period of time where things had kind of flattened out. But then just a couple of weeks later, you see that we had a pretty good spike in the number of cases. The inmate cases had gone up by almost 700, and we had a a high total of active inmate cases. The staff cases had not gone up that much, but in just about a month since then and now, we've seen dramatic improvement. We did have 2 more inmate deaths, but if you look at those percentages, those percentages are tracking below what we've seen in the state. It's not good, but it's still below what we see in the state. But the inmate cases only increased by less than 100, 95 cases over that period of time, and staff cases by 24. The real news in this chart is that you see that the active cases have gone down by over 600 cases in the inmate side. And in actuality, prior to some jail transfers, we only had 1 active case in our prisons. We had 10 that came in and transferred from jail. We retested and found that they were positive, and now we're getting that under control. So overall, really, really good work by the Department of Corrections working with our health departments and Dr. Stack's staff. Vaccinations. Here's where we're really showing a great effort. We can get that slide up. We delivered the vaccinations, Johnson & Johnson, to our institutions a week ago, April 5th. And in that week, we've gotten 6,602 inmates vaccinated. That represents 68% of the total population. And today, even as I'm speaking, we're having vaccination clinics going on at both the Kentucky State Penitentiary and at Blackburn. So we should easily be able to top over 70% very soon, and I'll tell you what the significance of that is in a minute. We've got 50% of our staff vaccinated. Now, I will say that all the inmate vaccinations have been Johnson & Johnson. That was very deliberate because we didn't want to have to be in a situation of having to go back and do second doses on what might be a transit population. Now, going back to that percentages, here's what we're looking at, and I was talking to the corrections officials today. We are targeting that once we get to a truly substantial level of inmate population vaccinated, and by substantial, I'm talking at least 80%, that we'll be able to start a program, we hope, of having visitations begin again at our institutions. And we're talking over 80% of the inmate population vaccinated to be visited by vaccinated individuals. So there's an incentive both inside and outside to start to get back for people to reconnect with the folks who are in here. But again, good news is the active cases have dropped and the vaccinations percentages in a week, very, very encouraging, Governor.
All right. Let's look at the COVID trends as we're seeing them. First, let's look at new cases. This is the stair-stepper chart where we had, 11 or 12 declining weeks until 2 weeks ago we saw our first increase. This last week, we went down again. But I'm going to show you in a second how we ought to be viewing this as a plateau, with the numbers in the last 3 weeks being down, up, down. Remember, we've got to look at both cases and the positivity rate, which is the leading indicator. So if we'll show that chart, what you'll see here is that we actually have the highest positivity rate last week that we have had in over a month. Now, still, it's pretty close there, but you've seen that we've had that plateau in the positivity rate before we ever saw it in our cases. Now, we got to at least watch to see if we're starting an uptick in the positivity rate. We'll watch that through the course of this week. It's up higher than this, certainly today. Remember, other states are going up. And the country is going up in numbers of cases. We don't want to go there. And we've got more time than other states had to get more people vaccinated. But things start in New York or New Jersey, just like they did when this pandemic broke out. It eventually reaches Kentucky at a same or similar level if we don't do better on the masking side or we don't do better on the vaccination side. I suggest we do better on both. Let's look at inpatient census. As you can see, we are also plateauing here. We are glad to be down from where we were. We're glad to be down from earlier than August, but again, we're not continuing to decrease. We're seeing kind of that steady plateau. Same thing when you look at the ICU numbers, see a plateau there. Again, there is variance, but it averages out to a number that, while we have capacity, means we are not seeing declining numbers of patients or those sick enough for an ICU or those who need a ventilator, if we can put that up. Remember, ventilators vary more day to day for good and bad reasons than others. But again, you see that for the last several weeks at least, we're in a stable place. Remember, we've always gone from a plateau to an increase. So again, it doesn't have to happen this time. Every other time we've had a plateau, we haven't had a vaccine. So let's use the tools we have. Let's make sure that we can get this done. Today's cases, 270 new cases of COVID-19. That is more than last week, but it's less than the 2 preceding weeks before that. Positivity rate, 3.16%. That's the highest in about a month. So we've got to be watching that. We should be wary. We should see what's going on in other states. We should get everybody out to get vaccinated. Today, we're reporting 380 Kentuckians hospitalized for COVID, 104 in the ICU because of COVID, 54 on a ventilator because of COVID. We're also reporting 7 deaths today, all of which come from the local health department route. They include a 56-year-old man from Boone County. It's a February death. A 95-year-old woman from Clay County. That's a December death. A 67-year-old woman from Harlan County, February. 45-year-old man from Jefferson, February. 81-year-old man from Jefferson, February. 76-year-old man from Kenton, February. And a 63-year-old woman from Laurel, February. Now, most all those Februarys are early February. Do we have the chart of total deaths by month based on date of death? Can we put that up? Folks, we've been through a lot in this pandemic. But look at this. It shows that fall winter surge, I believe, was one of the deadliest 3.5 months periods, certainly in my lifetime, but probably that we've ever experienced here as a state, at least in the last 100 years. Look at how significant that period of time was and how many individuals we lost compared to early in the pandemic. That's tough. Look at where we are now. You want proof that vaccines work? Look at how, when you go to the far right, when you look at where March was, and as we go into April, how it is smaller than just about any other time during this virus, other than a brief period when we were healthy at home. Vaccines work. And if we don't get enough people vaccinated, we will go through something like we did in November and December and January again. Look at that. That means that so many, maybe even the majority of flags behind this Capitol, the majority of people we've buried because of COVID-19 happened in that period of time. And it means a lot of families are out there hurting. You can also see how steeply it's declined once these vaccines came out. I'll give you another example of that, and that's long-term care facilities. Again today in long-term care, zero new deaths. And again, fewer residents getting COVID than staff. Remember, a much higher percentage of residents got the vaccine than staff did, even though residents, probably because of age, have weaker immune systems. Guess what? The vaccines make up for it. They're getting it at a lower rate than staff. So staff, if you haven't gotten this, go out and get it. It works. Just look around your facility. 4 new residents testing positive, 9 new staff. Long-term care shows the miracle that is here. I mean, the overall percentages of deaths for long-term care were huge, and they have gone down so significantly. Let's make sure, again, that we get the job done. Okay, so a number of different things today. that we announced. We got a number of journalists on the line. Let's start with Chad Hedrick from WKYT.
Hi there, Governor. We've talked before, and I've asked you about this possible plateau in interest of people getting vaccinated before we're able to hit those herd immunity levels. Would you say that this goal that you announced today is a response to a concern of that? And when do you think it'll take, or how long do you think it'll take for us to see a noticeable response to people signing up for a vaccine because of the goal?
So in the last couple of weeks, we've been steady around 125,000 people being vaccinated each week. I think we did this last week. Remember, we still have another day in how we measure it, though it's going to take a couple more days for that to come in. At 125,000 per week, over the course of a little over 6 weeks, we'd still hit this goal, but we want to hit it faster. We know that the variants are out there, that they are dangerous, and we want to get back to more of our normal lives earlier in the summer. So we put this out to motivate people, no question, and to give them the goal. But it's not just people; it's also business. It's also areas that have these restrictions that it asked. What can we do? What goal do we need to hit to have more flexibility or to have fewer restrictions? So that's out there. So let's call it a motivator. It's a motivator for individuals and where we're collectively going as a state. It's a motivator for restaurants and their patrons, bars and their patrons, pools, which we knew last summer everybody missed so badly. Hey, this is a way to make it real safe and to be able to have a bunch of people there as well. So all those things that we enjoy, big weddings, getting back to big weddings, being able to have a more normal funeral. Those are all things that are important to us. So that's calling on all those industries, all those individuals, all those people to be leaders and to think about different ways that they can incentivize or encourage Kentuckians to hit this goal. Because in the end, the goal is all about saving lives. The goal is about defeating the pandemic. It's a noble goal. Now, are we going to have to push and pull and incentivize to get there? We might, but I know we can do it. Sarah Ladd from the Courier-Journal.
Yes, thank you. Kind of related to that first question, but to your knowledge, have there been any widespread problems with people in Kentucky skipping out on their second doses? Maybe for whatever reason, maybe there was side effects with the first one and they didn't want to come back with the second one. Have there been any trends like that? And if so, is that concerning to y'all? Thanks.
Thank you. Right now, I think we're looking pretty good on that. When we look at first doses and total doses and utilization, this is with the numbers being behind. I mean, once they're updated, I believe that we'll be over 80%. So I feel like, again, it's taken a little bit longer to get people their second dose, but we're getting second doses there and to people. Let's go over to Dr. Stack in case he has some information I don't, but I feel nope, he's good. Dr. Stack is good. If we can come back to him a little bit later, we'll get his information too. But at least from all the data I'm seeing, again, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but we're seeing most people being willing and eager to get their second dose. But Sarah, it's a good point in that as we move from those that are eager to those that maybe need to be convinced a little bit more, maybe are a little bit indifferent, but are going to get this, getting that second dose to them may be a little more challenging, and we're going to have to continue to be diligent. Corinne Boyer from WEKU.
Hi, Governor. In order to reach the new vaccination goal, how will the state overcome vaccine hesitancy? And are you concerned that hesitancy might mean that we could end up with an unequal distribution of vaccinated people around the state? Thank you.
That's a good question. When you look at hesitancy, and again, I don't think we're there yet. I really think that there are three groups. There is eager, there is casual / indifferent, but not opposed, and then there is hesitant, which can mean some are fully opposed and will never get it, and some are going to want to watch more people but aren't ready to get it yet. I don't believe we are to that place yet. And I believe that we can hit our 70% number without getting to the toughest area that we will continue to work on. Right now, I think that as we increase access, as we provide it in more places, the goal is for you to have it around you in your everyday life. So that's why we're going to be closing some of our mass vaccination centers and opening in more grocery stores, for instance. You're going to do your shopping, you can get vaccinated while you're there, even if you haven't signed up for an appointment. You're going to get a prescription filled. You can get vaccinated while you're there. Places you go, making it easy on you. We're also going to look to partner in new and different ways with all different types of businesses to get this out there. And we're asking for leadership from all of these different businesses that are impacted by this vaccine challenge we put out. Because let's face it, I mean, it's not just me talking right here that's going to get people to come in and get vaccinated. If that was the case, we'd already be well on our way. But having people they care about, businesses that they have been worried about, friends in their community that say, help us hit this goal, and then come celebrate with us, I think that's going to go a long way. Local voices, local trusted leadership, I think can help us get there. Alex Akisto from the Herald Leader.
Hi, Governor. Two quick questions. As I understand it, the Kentucky Department for Public Health just completed a pilot project in Harlan County where they delivered doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to people living in isolated rural areas. In some cases, they even drove doses to their doorsteps. Are there other endeavors like that underway right now in rural parts of Kentucky? Secondly, you mentioned how the 2.5 million goal is 70% of the adult population who's eligible for a vaccine right now. It's closer to 56% of the total population. So when we're talking about herd immunity, can you talk about why you feel like 2.5 million is a safe goal to rescind those business restrictions? Thanks.
Sure. We believe the 2.5 million is a safe goal because we're not eliminating all steps. We are continuing masking. And because we can't hit a higher number or a much higher number until people who aren't currently eligible, and we don't know when they're eligible, are going to come online. But we do believe, as long as we continue to wear masks, that this is a good number where we could relax again those restrictions of events under 1,000 people, provided these other measures are still in place. And we're not going to stop after the 2.5. We're still going to keep pushing. And I think that the momentum that we will create will certainly carry us further. We're working on at least 2 other rural mobile vaccine projects that we hope to be able to announce here soon that are going to have some significant reach, and we're going to have some pretty good partners on. Let's go over to Dr. Stack if he's got any more comments on that, plus the last question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the difficulties of being in my office is my phone can ring. So the second dose issue, this is a challenge, medication adherence that happens with all sorts of things. All of you know how this works, right? You go see the doctor, they give you an antibiotic prescription. You're supposed to take it for 10 days. You feel better after 4 or 5 days and you stop early. That's a problem because the treatment course is designed to have to be for a certain duration. Well, the same thing is true with the vaccines. So the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines were designed as 2-dose vaccines. In fact, most of the vaccines available for COVID were designed as 2-dose vaccines. It's really important you get the second dose. I think we have 85-90% second dose adherence at minimum. Hopefully it's higher than that, but I know it's that at minimum. But we need it to be 100%. And when people don't get the second dose, it's because almost always they have chosen not to return for the second dose. It's virtually never, and should be never, to be clear, that the vaccine provider doesn't have the second dose to give you. So it's really, really important that if you get the first dose, you get the second dose. Now, let me just be candid about this. Some people may say, I hear people have more symptoms when they get the second dose. They may feel achy or have a fever or feel like they have a day where they just don't feel good enough to go to work or do their activities. That's true for some people. That means your immune system is having a robust and healthy and strong response to the vaccine. That's why it's important to get the second dose, because that's what gives you the longer and better protection from the vaccine. It's the second stimulation to your immune system. So please go back and get those second doses. It's absolutely imperative. Now, for the other items that the governor talked about, we are doing extensive outreach. Local health departments do this stuff all the time. They've gone and done community outreaches. They've gone to community centers, to churches. U of L, King's Daughters Medical Center, University of Kentucky, Pikeville Medical Center, and many, many others have done community outreaches. They just don't all get told about at the press conferences, but please know there's a whole wealth of activity out there. And the governor also mentioned that our efforts here at the state level are going to be ongoing, trying to work with and support these activities to reach people in all sorts of settings, whether that be an urban environment where they have transportation difficulties or mobility issues and they can't get out of their residence to go get a shot, or in a rural community where they may have different types of transportation issues or may have other reasons that they can't go get vaccinated. And of course, we want you to have access to people you know and you trust and you have confidence in. Your own doctor, your own nurse practitioner, your own pharmacist, your community leaders, your faith leaders, people who themselves have already gone on this journey and who have had good success with it and who are enjoying the benefits of a proven medication to help keep you protected from COVID-19. So we'll keep up all those efforts, and I look forward to updating you on more good news in the weeks ahead. Governor? Oh, and I'm sorry, the other question was about, I think Alex asked, the level of vaccination. If we got 70% of the people 16 or over, that means in most of these activities you're going to go to, if you're going to go to a bar, there better not be too many 16-year-olds in bars. If you're going to go to concert venues and other big social activities, a lot of those things typically are adult population, and you should get really good protection. And remember, the vaccine protects other people, but as far as protecting the people at greatest risk, that's hands down an age-related continuum. And so if we get everyone over 16, if we get 70% of the people over 16, we have really had a meaningful accomplishment. And I feel very good that it's reasonable at that point to make the restriction limitation easings that the governor has outlined. Governor, back to you.
Finally, on that question, Alex, and I feel like we've gone too long. We got really positive response today from Dr. Smith at U of L, from their entire healthcare system. A good goal, a reasonable goal, a motivator. They're fully on board. All right, from WLKY, can we get an update on the unemployment insurance website shutdown? We are on track for the system to go live again tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Now, remember, we had to do this because the number of cyber criminal attacks that were auto-generating people's PINs using personal information they'd gotten from the dark web or another source, and then trying to change their bank account and steal their money. So we've had to send letters out about how people can change their PINs. Now, a lot of the letters, a majority of the letters, won't be to people yet when it opens up tomorrow at 7 a.m. So we do have a call center that is ready to go to help people tomorrow. Again, it's going to be open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. for the next 10 days to help everybody get their PINs changed. The number is 502-564-2900, 502-564-2900. At maximum capacity, we'll have 150 people answering the phones for PIN resets only. Though our day tomorrow will start with 50, and we'll have 50 at the end of the day. So your wait times will be longest at 7 a.m. and after 8 p.m. So with the in-between in the day, having the largest number of people. This line, 502-564-2900, they're not going to be able to answer any of your other unemployment questions. We have hired them solely to get the PIN reset. So this is a PIN reset and only a PIN reset number. Valid email address is required to verify your identity in the new registration process. Free email accounts are available through Google and Yahoo. You'll also need the new 8-digit PIN. That's what you'll have to create to create the new account that makes it long enough and too complicated for the cyber criminals to do it. If you are not due to request your next UI payment, if you can, please hold off on setting a PIN via phone and wait for the letter. But that's the update. It's moving forward. It's a step we absolutely had to do because we don't want people stealing your money. Tom Latek from Kentucky Today.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon. I've got some questions for Dr. Stack, I guess. So if you can get him off the phone, I'd appreciate it. First of all, Moderna and Pfizer appear to be doing clinical trials on a third dose because of the variants. And I was wondering, how does that take the same amount of time as it does to get the vaccine approved in the first place before they can roll that out? And secondly, haven't heard anything lately on the a new variant that was found at the Eastern Kentucky nursing home, and wonder if it is actually a new one or one of the ones that we already are aware of. And, you know, is this going to be called a Kentucky variant?
Steve?
Thanks. I'll try to be a little briefer on these answers. So on the first one for the third doses, that's a to be determined for how they'll handle the approval process. I'm sure they would do some investigation before approving the third dose, but it wouldn't probably be anywhere near the same rigor because essentially they're using the same technology, the same platform, and just changing a little bit of the coding within the vaccine. So I think most people anticipate it will take a little bit less time. It won't be a whole 10 months to get a new approval for that. It would be an extension of the approval. And that will be determined by the Food and Drug Administration, who we rely upon to make sure these therapeutics are safe. As far as the Eastern Kentucky nursing home outbreak, the virus that was there had a couple of the elements or the components from some of the other variants of concern or variants of interest. Some of the genetic sequencing overlapped between that virus involved in that outbreak and some of the other variants of concern. So far, we have not identified that thumbprint anywhere else, so it has not yet demonstrated that it is likely to become a new variant of concern. And at this time, no, I don't have any reason to believe there will be any new variant named the Kentucky variant. And I'm going to hope very much it stays that way. And the best way it'll stay that way is we get everyone vaccinated as quickly as possible. Back to you, Governor.
Next is Melissa Patrick from Kentucky Health News.
Hi, Governor. Kentucky ranks near the bottom for genomic sequencing. And with the UK variant, the dominant strain across the country, and the South African variant likely resistant to vaccines, must we have more genomic sequencing? And if so, what is Kentucky doing about that?
Let's go to Dr. Stack again.
So that's a good question. The question is about, are we doing enough genomic sequencing? The answer is, as a nation, we are not doing enough genomic sequencing. The question, though, also is how much genomic sequencing is necessary and how much is beneficial. And I don't think we know that with certainty. So once we know that the virus is present, it's really not a question of going out and proving that it's there more and more and more all the time. It's really, what is the implication of the virus being present and how will we change our actions or our interventions? All of the variants are well protected against for severe illness. So that's death, ICU admission, mechanical ventilation, like really severe illness. All of the variants, even the ones that have shown the ability to neutralize a little bit of the benefit of the vaccine, all of them are still well protected against by all three of the vaccines available in Kentucky and in the United States. So that the headline, the national news covering that came out recently about showing anywhere from less than 1% to over 6% of sequencing, that's interesting, but I don't think it's really a complete picture because the federal government has contracts with laboratories who do sequencing across the country. Private labs do sequencing. The public health labs, including our own, do sequencing. And all of these entities, or most of them, report into central databases, and we all benefit from that aggregate sequencing data. So we need to do more sequencing, yes. How much more is to be determined. And I think people need to be aware it's a substantial investment. It's more than 3 days worth of laboratory time to sequence a single specimen. Then there's complex bioinformatics analysis that has to take place to make sense of all of the data. And of course, we've not done this at this scale ever before. And so I think the whole nation, including Kentucky, is on the shared journey of just what does a more robust surveillance system look like, and what is the reasonable risk and return rate on how much of it to do where we get enough benefit to justify all the cost and effort. Governor?
Right. A written question here from a number of outlets, why I chose to allow Senate Bill 5 to become law without my signature. Well, first, I did not sign Senate Bill 5 into law because I have some constitutional concerns with both major parts of the bill, and then the primary drivers of the bill. The Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and a couple of other entities never approached the governor's office, never sought any of our input, never talked to us about the bill whatsoever until after it was passed. And I just think that's a bad way to go about legislation when everybody's input needs to be included. I did let it become law without my signature because I do think, especially our Speaker of the House, who I've certainly had some disagreements with, worked really hard to address the majority of concerns, even if it didn't address all of my concerns. He actively worked with those that would have typically opposed this type of law and significantly narrowed it. Now, do I think there'll be a court challenge? Yes. Do I think the bill could, the law now could be potentially thrown out in a court challenge? Yes, but I do believe, especially on the House side, there was a real effort to hear voices on both sides and to try to get the law into a better place. And I did want to recognize that, knowing the rest of this will ultimately play out in the court system. All right, last question. Mike Valenti from WLEX.
Okay, okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Governor. I have a live shot in a minute, so I'll try to make this quick. The Biden administration has distanced itself from the idea of vaccine passports, kind of saying that they're not really exploring that. Other people have said it's incumbent on the private sector. You alluded to that before. Have you had specific conversations with business leaders, maybe the Chamber of Commerce, on ideas to incentivize employees to get the vaccine, whether that be paid time off or bonuses?
Yeah, we have a scheduled call we're working on coming up on that. I've talked to certain industry leaders, especially around the Louisville and the Lexington area, about how you can get so many people through. We set this new goal, 2.5 million, where we lift the capacity restrictions. So this is certainly an effort to reach out to the business community saying, help us get there. As a state, we're not looking at vaccine passports, but let's face it, with how much safer they make you, you are going to see this in private business. It's going to happen. It's a risk reduction. And I think that for those that want to take advantage of as many opportunities that are going to be out there, go ahead and get your vaccine. All right. Good luck with the live shot. For everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate everybody and their continued work. Encourage everyone to get this vaccine. Let's race to the first 2.5 million Kentuckians vaccinated. That'll be a really good day, and we'll have good days each and every day after that. Everybody stay safe.